I hope everyone's staying safe and well in these days and these trying times. And I'm sure you've all come to terms with working remotely by now, but I have also discovered the challenges of managing your video editorial workflows. Our partner EditShare has been hard at work looking at the economics and technical implications of remote editorial workflows, and in this webinar we'll showcase seamless editing in the cloud with an innovation that reduces costs without compromising the workflow experience you expect to have using your creative tools that you love. So today, Senior Pre-Sales Engineer Nathan Rausch and Pre-Sales Engineer Victor Mendonza from EditShare are going to show us this technology in action. And both these chaps are working remotely from their homes, accessing the solutions from an AWS cloud-based infrastructure. So with that, I'll pass to Nathan.
Thank you, Serena. And welcome everyone. For those of you who are not familiar with EditShare, we are a shared storage company. We also do asset management. And we also have archive solutions, ingest and playout solutions. And for years, we've done all of this on-prem, as most of you are used to. Recently, we had started making the migration to the cloud, and what we call that is EFSV. So it's EFS storage virtualized in the cloud. All of our asset management can also run in the cloud, and the push from COVID has made that happen a lot faster than people were ready for, I think. And so we've embraced it, and we're tackling that head on. So before we get into the seamless proxy editing and the revolutionary breakthrough using S3-backed EFS storage, what I'd like to do is kind of show you the system that we're working with today. So let me share my screen. So I've got my setup here in an AWS environment. What you see here are two EC2 instances, and these are just virtual machines, essentially. These are running in the Ohio region, but you can deploy these in just about any region you like. I've got an all-in-one server, which, for those of you who may be familiar with our hardware, is about the equivalent in performance and size of our EFS 200 system, which is our kind of our entry-level system. In the cloud, just like on-prem, we can scale up into multiple petabytes, whatever size storage you need that can be deployed in the cloud. And again, the asset management is a part of that as well. Next to that, I have a second EC2 instance or virtual machine, and this is my NLE machine. So the NLE running Premiere or Resolve or whatever NLE I like to run is hosted in the same virtual network as the server. Just to kind of give you a glimpse at that. Now, if I wanted to connect to those remotely, I'm in New York, just in case anyone was wondering, and I don't know if Serena mentioned that. I'm located in New York, and here on my laptop, I can open up my remote desktop to the server. I have control over this just like you would have control over your EditShare server on site. The only difference is that it's hosted somewhere in the cloud. I also have access to my virtual NLE machine, and for that, I'm going to use TCP over IP protocol. In this case, I'm using Teradici. And what this does is it allows me to connect to the remote desktop of that virtual NLE. Now, in this instance, I have my EditShare Connect. My storage is mounted. I have access to all of my files. I have all my NLEs of choice. I can run any of those. And I have the Flow asset management tools as well. Here, I've got Flow Story. I'm going to switch over, though, to, actually, let me hide this for 1 second. Here on my Mac in New York, I can open up Airflow or Flow Story. Any of the Flow applications I can use from essentially anywhere in the world. So while this server is hosted somewhere in Ohio, I'm in New York, and I'm using the Flow tools to access my storage. I'm going to ask my associate down in Brazil, Victor Mendonça, to take over and share his screen. And he's going to just create a little project for us in Airflow, just to kind of show that we are using the same server and accessing the same material. So Victor, whenever you're ready.
All right, so thank you, Nathan. And hi, everyone, I'm Victor. And like Nathan was telling you guys, I can go over to Airflow, and then if you guys took a look at the IP address, it's the same IP address, and I'm in Brazil. So right now, I'm accessing the web interface, you know, in Airflow, using the same IP address as Nathan showed you guys. So let's just log in and then access Airflow, and let's just create a new project and create a new sequence so you guys can see how fast it is. And Nathan, which is in New York, will be able to pick up and do some more with that. So let's just create a project here called Webinar Annex Pro. And then, like Nathan was showing you guys, I can see all the storage that it's in my EFSV storage. So let's just pick something interesting here, a couple of clips, and then let's just add it to the root directory of that project. And then let's just create a sequence with those two. Okay, so let's drag it over here. All right, and then let's just name the sequence Annex Pro, just for the fun of it. And also, let's just create a marker over here, a light. So, okay, so just summarizing it, I'm here in Brazil. I'm accessing the EFSV system that it's hosted in the cloud. And then now I'm gonna give it back to Nathan so you guys can watch it, what he can do with this sequence that I just created. So back to you, Nathan.
Thank you, Victor. So in real time, I have the project that Victor created, and I can access that sequence here in New York and play through it and collaborate on that with him. I can also do that using Flow Story. And if I'm using my PC over IP client, I see that it's populated here in the Windows instance in the cloud, and I have access to all of that same thing too. So just to kind of show you that this can be done from anywhere in the world, this is the benefit of working with EFSV in the cloud. And we do have our EditShare storage just like you would have on-prem, except virtualized. Now, the thing about this is with EBS storage, which is the fast, expensive storage that we're using in AWS, in order to get the performance that we would need, this is where the pricing becomes unreachable for some people, and what has kept people, I think, from jumping into the cloud wholeheartedly. And that brings us to what we're here to talk about today. So just to give you an overview, we're going to talk about all these different things today, and we will actually do a demo of how seamless proxy editing works. So for media production, as we all know, on-prem, we've had for years, we need a file system. And that file system needs to mount like a local drive on our system. It needs to allow us to open any files in any editing software. So regardless of what NLE you choose to use, you want to use that on your file system. We want to manage users, groups, permissions, file locking and symbolic link creation, etc. And we've been able to do this over the years. But we need block storage to do that. And that's what our traditional on-prem storage is. That's what we have replicated in the cloud with EFSV using the more expensive EBS storage. Now, just to give you rough numbers here, assuming that you have a 5-node EditShare system in the cloud or an EFSV system, looking at some of these popular codecs and resolutions, we can see that with block storage, these are going to be the estimated costs for this amount of material per month. So again, that could be cost inhibitive for some people to move production fully into the cloud. So then object storage is, if you're not familiar with it, is what maybe an S3 is. And so this offers tremendous benefits, like it's simple, resilient, and low cost, but it doesn't have all of the things that we need with block storage for a file system for performance or any of that. It's very simple to set up. You only pay for the amount you use, so you're not buying terabytes of storage and then only using a little bit, and it grows with you. And it can also be distributed across multiple zones and regions, giving you some built-in protection and replication. The problem is it has no file system. And again, it doesn't offer the benefits of block storage. So to give you kind of a cost analysis of what we've done in our tests is that these are, again, the same numbers we just looked at using block storage. But if we are able to put most of that footage on, let's say, an S3 bucket, or, well, it would be an S3 bucket, but object storage, that comes out to a whole different set of numbers. And you can see the savings there on the right-hand side puts this much more in reach as a viable solution for full production in the cloud. So the perfect solution, again, is probably some sort of hybrid. So what we're doing is we're taking object storage and we're emulating that, or using an S3 bucket to have our EFS system present that. This offers an emulated file system sitting on top of object storage. So you get the cost benefit of object storage, the immediate accessibility of object storage, with a lot of the benefits of having a file system sitting on block storage. We have native drivers for Windows, Mac, and Linux to be able to mount the S3 backed storage, and random access to multiple parallel video files. The problem, again, with object storage is latency. Trying to play back in real time from an S3 bucket is probably not going to work very well unless it's very low bandwidth files, and if those files are immediately available. So latency is a big problem, and in the video industry, we understand that that is not acceptable. So what we've done, again, is we have created a way to mount the S3 object storage as a viewable file system. And this is where true seamless proxy editing comes into place. So we will demo this in real life, but just to kind of walk you through what we're going to see, we have our camera originals. These are our raw files. These are our big heavy files that we will use for ingest, we will use for finishing, but we want to be able to edit with some proxies in the meantime. So those camera originals, this is showing 3 remote editors connecting to the VPC in the cloud environment, much like Victor and I would have connected. Again, this is scalable, so you can have as many editors as you like eventually. And the camera originals get uploaded to object storage. So let's say you're out in the field, you shoot your material, you upload it to an S3 bucket. We then have the EFSV file system with its block storage, with its EBS storage. We have it look at the object storage and mount that using some under the hood technology. We mount the object storage and present it as if it were block storage. So the high-res files are living on object storage. The EFSV system presents that object storage. Flow, which is our asset management component, scans the S3 storage or the object storage and generates the proxies that you need. We do this anyway, regardless of whether the material lives on block storage or object storage. Flow builds proxies for all of its material, essentially. And then editors are accessing both the object storage, the block storage, and the proxies through Flow, and they're able to toggle between these seamlessly. So I hope that kind of makes sense. What I'd like to do is actually just show you how that works. So we're going to go back to my virtual machine in AWS. So here's my machine. You can see I have all the storage mounted here. Actually, one thing I should show you first is in my S3 environment, in my Amazon environment, if we look at S3 buckets, I have a bucket here called HRM demo. That's high resolution media demo. And inside that bucket, we have a set of files, a set of folders, files within them for both Avid media as well as media that I might use in Premiere or Resolve or something like that. So that, that bucket is being seen and replicated here. Not replicated, but being presented here as this HRM demo unmanaged media space. And that's mounted here. Now, again, that's object storage in real life. So if I try to play files there The latency is going to be a problem. There's no performance guarantee, really. So the way we like to present that, it will start with Premiere. If I'm in Adobe Premiere, I'll open up this project. We have an Adobe Premiere panel now. And for those of you who may not have seen this, and I'm accessing material that lives on that HRM demo media space. So here I'm working with the proxies. The proxies live on the EBS storage, but they're very small, so we have to have a small amount of EBS storage. So here I'm just going to import these into my project. You'll see a couple things happen. Media was successfully imported and the proxy was downloaded or attached to it. So if we look at the properties of any of these clips, we will see that the high-res file lives here in the object-based storage presented through EFS, and the proxy file is living on one of our EBS volumes, which is called Adobe Proxies, and that's where the proxy file lives. But through this process of using the panel to do the import, we have connected these right here in Adobe. So what this means is that I can take these files, I can be in proxy mode here. So I'm working with the proxies. Of course, my performance is going to be great. I'm not on the expensive EBS storage with the high-res files, and I'm able to work with the proxies in real time. Now, if I zoom this clip in, hopefully you can see this pretty well over the webinar. But if I zoom this in, you can see this is the proxy, and seamlessly, I can toggle between that and the high-res asset. So again, you might want to toggle to the high-res asset to check a graphics placement. Or if you're not, maybe the proxy looks a little rough because it was low lit and you just want to make sure that it looks good, you can toggle over at any time and see that. And of course, when you're ready to do your final output, you click a button. There's no conforming, there's no recapturing or onlining footage. You just toggle over to the object storage and you do your output from there. The big benefit is when you're talking about egress costs from the object storage, you're only being charged for the frames that you view. So even though I'm connected to, let's say, a file that's 20 gigabytes, if I just toggle over and I play a couple frames of it, that data rate is the only thing I'm really charged for. So that, again, huge benefit. And the immediacy of having everything be online in one way or another at all times is pretty huge. So this is the Adobe Premiere version of this toggle. Now this can work in other NLEs as well. So here I have a project set up, and you can see, again, just like in Premiere, I have my Avid demo media space. This is hosted on the EBS storage. And on there I have 800 kilobit Avid proxies of all of the media. And then on my other space, which is my high-res media demo space, again, this is the S3 backed bucket, I have the higher res assets. Now in my case, I'm using GNX36, but you could use whatever you want, as long as it's on that S3 bucket and the EFS has looked at it. So in this sequence, again, the yellow clips I'm cutting with proxies. By
the time you get it figured,
this is highly performant, works quickly, looks good. And then when I'm ready to conform, unfortunately, there's no toggle button right within Media Composer, but what I can do is select relink, choose my high-res media volume, click OK, and now I'm relinked to the high-res assets. So again, here I can scrub those files, verify that I'm seeing what I think I'm seeing, and I know what I'm looking at. And that's how that works in Media Composer. If we go back to Adobe Premiere, just to give you a little more insight into the panel for those of you who may not have seen it yet, this allows you to look through assets in the panel. You can search, you can browse, and when you find files you'd like to work with, you can watch the proxy here. You can import that right into your project as well. The Adobe panel also has a way to publish directly from Adobe. So if I were to, let's make this really short so it doesn't take a long time. If I'm ready to publish this sequence, I can click Upload here in the panel. This is going to let me choose which of my flow projects I would like to push this into. Perhaps give it a name of a sequence. I can enable version tracking here. So as I'm going through and making revisions, we'll have a version history we can track. And then I'll just put this on some media space and give it a file name with some basic settings here. So when I click upload, sequence field is required. Hopefully that works. So when I click upload, this is compressing this. And again, I'm toggled into the object storage. So this is flattening my file using the high resolution files and pushing that back to the server as a flattened file. At which point other users in Flow or in the EditShare environment can review this clip that I've just edited in Airflow or Flow Story. And if they're using Adobe Premiere, they can even review that here. So here we can see the test clip, can come in and watch that sequence. If someone had given me notes in Airflow or Flow Story, I would see those here and could import those right back into my project. So that's the new Adobe Premiere panel, just to kind of give you a glimpse of that. Let me switch back real quick over here. So that's the demo of seamless proxy editing. I hope that makes sense to everyone. If we just take a step back at this, just to kind of review what we just did here. We've got the camera originals or the high-res assets being uploaded to object storage. The EFSV system looks at that object storage and presents it as if it were block storage. The performance will be what it will be, but as far as the file system is concerned and as far as the NLE is concerned, that is viewable and usable storage for reading. So then Flow scans it, generates proxies, and Flow puts those proxies back on actual block storage where we can edit with them faster. It's not costing us an arm and a leg because we only need a couple terabytes for all of our proxies, and so that's great. And then the editors are able to access the EFS mounts, and they are able to actually mount both of these types of storage and toggle between them based on the needs they're doing. So hopefully that helps clarify that a little bit. So the takeaway here is that the seamless proxy editing is available from EditShare, and Annex Pro, of course, can help find your way to us and work with us to get you suited into the right setup. There's no restoring or conforming. You're working either by remote desktop or over a VPN. So if you had a VPN into that environment and you didn't want to use the Windows NLE in the cloud, you could do the same thing and cache those proxies locally on your machine. And they're always available in your archive. So if that S3 bucket happens to be your archive, all of that footage is always available to you, and you're not having to restore things because it's too expensive to keep on your production storage. So end-to-end cloud production workflows are now more affordable. We have many use cases, and we've been doing a lot of POCs, and again, I think this pandemic has forced people who were sitting on the fence about getting into the cloud somehow, has really forced everyone's hand and made it happen faster than we would like, but we've embraced it, and we're having some incredible success with it. We have integrations with other cloud tools. We have integrations for transcription, facial recognition, object recognition, and things like that. But I feel like that's more tied in with Flow, and we're really not going to get into the weeds with Flow today. Yeah, so that's cloud editing unlocked, and we have plenty of time now for Q&A. If anyone has any questions, I'll turn it back over to you, Serena, and you can kind of walk us through that.
Thank you. I managed to figure out my video, so that's a bonus. But thanks to you, Nathan and Victor, for taking us through this today. You actually made it look really easy, and I've got some back chat going on my computer here about, wow, this is the future of editing. And so, yeah, really impressive. And as expected, we've got quite a few questions. So we will try and address as many of them as possible. So I'm going to ask the questions out, and I'm going to leave it to you, Nathan and Victor, to answer them. So the first question is, how many editors can be on the system at the same time? Is there a limit?
Well, when we're talking about the NLEs, so this is, if I'm using that virtual Windows station in the cloud, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you have 5 editors that need to work every day, you need 5 systems. If you have 10 freelance editors and you're only going to hire 5 a day, you still only need 5 systems. And that's using the virtual Windows workstation. Now, as far as Flow is concerned, if you have additional users using Airflow or Flow Story or the Adobe Premiere panel on their local machine, that's simply a matter of licensing. You tell us how many users you need, we'll license that many seats.
Okay, thank you. I guess related to that, would I have to buy my Media Composer or Adobe Premiere from EditShare? Is that something that you guys charge for, or how does that work?
It is bring your own license, so you can provide whatever NLE you want, and you can put it on there, but you're responsible for the license. Annex Pro can certainly help with that as well. We do not do that. The same thing with third-party plugins, for After Effects or Premiere or anything like that. So that's bring your own license. But we do provide the startup workstation, so we can deploy the virtual server. And if you tell us you need 4 edit machines, we can deploy that in one foul swoop. Here's your server, here's your 4 edit machines, and then all you have to do is log in and install your software, your edit software.
Great. And one other follow-on question then, this is me asking now. In that case, I brought my Media Composer, I've installed it on the virtual machine that you've provided. Do we then get charged based on the usage of that machine, or is it a machine that I own forever like I would under my desk here?
So when I showed you in the beginning, there's the AWS environment where I have my virtual machine and I have my one virtual NLE. Because both of those use EBS disk storage, you are charged a flat rate for that disk, that amount of EBS storage. So you have that whether you're running your machine or not, you're charged for that per month. You are then, because it's AWS, you are charged for the computing services of the NLEs and the egress fees from S3. So all of that is billed through directly either through the customer or through Annex Pro from Amazon. Our licensing fees do not fluctuate. You tell us you want 4 NLEs, basically you're just paying us to do the deployment and for the Flow licenses. And after that, it's your machine to keep, but you are going to get a monthly bill from Amazon.
Great. Actually, that sounds really simple compared to some of the other cloud-based editing solutions I've seen. So thank you. Next question is, how do I get all that data up into the cloud in the first place?
So there's lots of file acceleration methods. Most of you are probably familiar with Aspera, Signiant. We've partnered and tested with a company called Expedat. And Expedat is the same kind of thing. It's WAN acceleration. You can install that on the workstation in the cloud and push terabytes of footage up rather quickly. If you're using this method that we just talked about with the seamless proxy, you may find that uploading straight to an Amazon S3 bucket might do the trick for you as well. So it depends on how much you're editing, but you definitely want some file acceleration to get that up there.
Thank you. The last question, and I think we kind of answered it by seeing Nathan and Victor in different parts of the world already, but you know, I have a partnership with a company in the UK who are doing some editing for me. So will that be a problem? I think the answer is it doesn't matter where you are in the world, but could you just confirm that?
Sure. So as far as being an editor or hiring remote editors, it can be anywhere in the world. Obviously, they need, you know, relatively stable internet to be able to access the machine, but it's not a lot because it's not data transfer. It's really just low latency remote desktop. So it doesn't take a lot. There are some limits where you might deploy the cloud hosted solution. So the one I showed you is deployed in Ohio. We have offices in the UK and they have systems deployed in Ireland and London. Different AWS regions have different features and different pricing models. So that may have some bearing on where you choose to deploy it. We're willing to deploy it anywhere you want. And then as far as the editors go, no, that doesn't matter. If you want to hire 2 editors in the UK and an editor in China, it's all up to you. All you do is send them the IP address and give them the credentials, and they log in and get to work.
Great, thank you. That's all the questions that have been forwarded to me. If anybody else has any other questions, please pop them in the chat panel there. I think we can give you all guys half an hour of your day back. So I just want to say thanks again to Nathan and Victor, and thanks to all of you for joining us today to learn more about editing in the cloud. We really appreciate your interest and participation, and can't wait to have further conversations with you. So if you would like to continue the conversation, or if you think of questions after the fact that we haven't covered today, please do feel free to reach out to us. The main email address is contact@annexpro.com, or you're welcome to contact me directly. Most of you know me, Serena@annexpro.com. But thank you everyone, and